The sun poured through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the table. I stood by the coffee maker, the rich aroma filling the air, trying to shake off the unease that had settled in my chest. Another ordinary morning with Ethan awaited me, but something felt different. Why was I feeling restless? Wasn't I supposed to be happy? As I poured the steaming coffee into 2 mugs, I glanced at Ethan. He was engrossed in his newspaper, the corners of his mouth curling into a smile as he read a comic strip. I watched him for a moment, admiring the way his brow furrowed in concentration. He was kind and thoughtful, always putting me first. Yet, the comfort of our daily routine suddenly felt suffocating. Was this all there was? "Good morning, love," Ethan said, looking up at me. "What's on your mind?" I hesitated, searching for the right words. "Just thinking about the weekend. Maybe we could do something different?" He raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Like what?" I shrugged, unsure of how to express my need for change. "I don't know. Maybe a hike or a trip to the coast." "Sounds great. I'll plan something," he replied, returning to his newspaper. I smiled, but inside, I felt a void that I couldn't quite fill. Later that day, I met Father Gabriel for the first time. I had volunteered at the community center, and he was there to speak about upcoming events. When he walked in, the room shifted. His presence was magnetic, and I found myself captivated by his warm smile and the way he carried himself. I felt an unfamiliar flutter of excitement. "Hi, I'm Father Gabriel," he said, extending his hand. His grip was firm, yet gentle. "It's nice to meet you." "I'm Mia," I replied, suddenly aware of how my voice trembled. "I'm just here to help." "Every bit counts," he smiled. "What do you think about our community projects?" As we talked, I realized I could share my thoughts without fear of judgment. I love helping, but sometimes I feel like I'm just going through the motions. Life feels predictable. He nodded, his eyes searching mine. "That's understandable. We all crave something deeper sometimes." His words resonated with me, stirring a longing I hadn't acknowledged before. Was he really listening? Our conversation drifted from the community to personal dreams and aspirations. I found myself sharing thoughts I had buried deep. "I used to love painting. I haven't picked up a brush in years." "Why not?" he asked, genuinely curious. I shrugged, feeling embarrassed. "Life got busy, I guess. I just forgot." "Don't let life steal your passions," he said, a hint of intensity in his voice. "You deserve to explore what makes you happy." In that moment, I felt a connection I hadn't experienced in years. What was it about him that pulled me in? As I left the center, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had found something, or someone, who understood me in ways I hadn't even known I needed. Over the next few days, our conversations grew. I looked forward to seeing him, and our talks turned into late-night discussions, filled with laughter and secrets. Each word felt like a thread weaving us closer together. I shared insecurities I had never shared with Ethan, and with each confession, a part of me felt lighter. "Can I be honest?" I asked one night, the moonlight spilling through the window. "Always," Gabriel replied, his gaze steady. "I feel like I'm missing something in my life," I admitted, my heart racing. "Like there's more out there for me." He leaned closer, a spark in his eyes. "You deserve to seek that out. It's never too late." But as I reveled in this newfound connection, guilt began to creep in. I loved Ethan, didn't I? Yet, there was something intoxicating about Gabriel's understanding nature. Was I seeking comfort in the wrong place? As I lay in bed that night, I couldn't help but wonder, was this connection with Gabriel a breath of fresh air, or a dangerous path that could lead me to betrayal? The questions swirled in my mind. and I realized I was standing at the edge of something unpredictable. As days turned into weeks, my friendship with Father Gabriel deepened in ways I never imagined. We started having long conversations that seemed to stretch into the night. Each time we talked, I opened up more about my life, my insecurities, and my dreams. I felt a strange mix of excitement and fear as we shared our thoughts. "Do you ever feel like you're meant for something more?" he asked one evening, his eyes sparkling in the dim light. "Sometimes," I replied, biting my lip. "I love Ethan, but I can't shake this feeling that there's more out there for me." Gabriel nodded, his gaze steady. "It's natural to want to explore new paths. Life is about growth, after all." His words hung in the air, and I felt a connection that went beyond friendship. Each secret we shared pulled us closer, and I found myself looking forward to our talks, like a moth drawn to a flame. I felt seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. Late one night, as we sat outside under a blanket of stars, the world around us faded away. It was just Gabriel and me, wrapped in a cocoon of quiet understanding. "Tell me about your dreams," he encouraged, leaning closer. I hesitated, but then I spoke about my desire to travel, to see the world beyond our small town. "I want to feel the sun on my skin in places I've only read about." Gabriel moved a bit closer, his voice softening. "You deserve to experience that. We all do." The warmth of his presence made my heart race, and I could feel a shift in the air between us. What started as innocent conversations now felt like a tantalizing dance on the edge of something forbidden. I loved Ethan, but there was a part of me that craved the thrill of this new connection. One evening, as we sat together, our hands brushed against each other. I felt a jolt of electricity shoot through me. I glanced at Gabriel, my heart pounding in my chest. "Did you feel that?" I whispered, my voice barely above a murmur. "Yes," he replied, his eyes locking onto mine. "It's hard to ignore, isn't it?" I pulled my hand back, feeling a wave of panic wash over me. This was wrong. I was betraying Ethan, yet here I was, caught in a web of emotions I couldn't untangle. "I shouldn't feel this way," I said, my voice shaking. "I love my husband." Gabriel's expression softened. "Loving someone doesn't mean you can't feel something for another. It's complicated, but it's real." His words wrapped around me, making me question everything. My heart was torn between the safety of my marriage and the excitement of this newfound bond. In the days that followed, I found myself daydreaming about Gabriel more than I should have. Our late-night talks turned into lingering glances and touches that felt electric. The thrill of our connection was intoxicating, yet it weighed heavily on my conscience. One afternoon, while we were alone in the church garden, Gabriel brushed a strand of hair behind my ear. The simple gesture sent shivers down my spine. "Sometimes I wish I could just escape," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "To be free from everything." He stepped closer, his breath warm against my skin. "You don't have to choose right now. Just be honest with yourself." In that moment, I felt a rush of emotions that left me breathless. I was standing on the precipice of something dangerous, and I could feel the ground shifting beneath me. The warmth of Gabriel's affection was undeniable, but my heart still belonged to Ethan. Caught between two worlds, I realized this connection with Gabriel was leading me down a path I had never intended to take. I felt exhilarated and terrified all at once, unsure of what the future held. The deeper we went, the more I questioned everything I thought I knew about love and loyalty. I took a deep breath, knowing that I had to tread carefully. The line between friendship and something more was blurring, and each moment with Gabriel pushed me closer to a choice that could change everything. The night of passion I shared with Gabriel still buzzes in my mind like a storm. I can hardly believe what happened. I feel excitement mixed with guilt, and it tears me apart. As I lie in bed next to Ethan, I stare at the ceiling, and my heart races. He is sleeping peacefully, unaware of the chaos swirling inside me. What was I thinking? I wonder. I had crossed a line, and now I am standing at the edge of a cliff, peering into the unknown. I think about Gabriel's smile, the way he looked at me with such intensity. The memory sends shivers down my spine. I want to feel that thrill again, but I also know I have hurt Ethan. The next morning, I try to act normal. I make breakfast, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. "Good morning, love," I say, forcing a smile as Ethan enters the kitchen. He returns my smile, but I notice a flicker of concern in his eyes. "Morning, you seem a bit off today," he replies. I panic for a moment. "Oh no, I'm fine, just a little tired." My voice shakes, and I can hear the lie in my words. Ethan nods, but looks unconvinced. "You sure? If something's bothering you, you can tell me." I want to scream, to confess everything, but I just nod. "Really, it's nothing." I turn away, hoping he doesn't see the truth in my eyes. As we eat, the silence feels heavy. Each bite of toast is a reminder of my betrayal. I think back to the moments I shared with Gabriel, the way he listened to me, the way he made me feel seen. I cringe at the thought. Later, I go for a walk to clear my head. The sun shines brightly, but I feel a shadow over my heart. I find myself in a small park, sitting on a bench. The sound of children laughing fills the air, but it only deepens my sadness. I should be enjoying this time with Ethan, not hiding from him. Suddenly, I hear a familiar voice. "Mind if I join you?" It's Gabriel. My heart races, and I look up to see him standing there, his expression warm, yet knowing. Sure," I say, trying to keep my tone light. He sits down next to me, and I can feel the tension in the air. "You look like you're deep in thought," he says, leaning closer. "Just thinking about life," I reply, avoiding his gaze. Gabriel studies me for a moment. "Is it about Ethan? You know, you can talk to me if you need someone to listen." His words pull at my heartstrings. I want to share everything, but I am terrified of the consequences. "I don't want to burden you," I say softly. He shakes his head. "You're not a burden. I care about you." Those words send a thrill through me, but guilt washes over me again. I shouldn't be here. I need to go. I stand up abruptly, feeling the weight of my choices crashing down on me. Gabriel looks surprised. "Wait, please don't go. We can just talk. I don't want to push you away." I take a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart. I can't keep doing this. It's not fair to Ethan. "But what about you?" he asks gently. "What do you want?" In that moment, I feel a surge of emotion. I want to be honest, but I can't. "I want to be happy," I whisper, my voice breaking. Gabriel reaches for my hand, and I feel that familiar spark. My heart races, but I pull away, shaking my head. "I can't," I say firmly. "I love my husband." Gabriel's expression falters, and I see the hurt in his eyes. "I understand, but you deserve to be happy too. Don't let fear hold you back." As I walk away, I feel torn. The conflict inside me grows stronger. I want to be with Gabriel, but I don't want to hurt Ethan. I realize I am at a crossroads, and each path leads to pain. How do I choose? The weight of my feelings presses down on me like a heavy fog, and I know I can't run from it forever. I must confront my desires and the consequences of my actions. I just hope I can find a way to navigate this storm without losing everything I hold dear. The days that followed my betrayal were heavy with guilt. I walked around the house like a ghost, each room echoing memories of laughter and love that felt increasingly distant. Ethan moved through our home, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I tried to maintain the facade of a happy wife, but it was like wearing a mask that was slowly slipping off. Every morning, the smell of coffee brewing filled the air, a ritual we had shared for years. I remembered how Ethan would always leave a sweet note beside my cup, telling me how much he loved me. But now, as I sipped the bitter brew, the taste was tainted with the knowledge of my betrayal. One morning, as I stood in front of the kitchen counter, Ethan entered, wearing that warm smile that used to melt my heart. "Good morning, love," he said cheerfully, pouring himself a cup. "Did you sleep well?" I hesitated, the weight of my guilt pressing down on me. Yes. Just a little restless, I guess." My voice trembled, and I could see the flicker of concern in his eyes. "Is everything okay? You seem a bit off lately." He leaned against the counter, searching my face for answers. I forced a smile, trying to mask the panic rising within me. "Oh, it's nothing really, just work stuff." Ethan nodded, unconvinced. "If something is bothering you, you know you can talk to me. I'm always here for you." His words cut deeper than I expected. I wanted to scream the truth, to confess everything, but the fear of shattering our lives held me back. Instead, I nodded, feeling like a fraud. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself retreating further into myself. I could no longer enjoy the little moments we shared. The laughter we once had felt hollow, and the love I had for Ethan felt like a distant memory. I kept thinking about Gabriel, the thrill he brought to my life, and the connection we shared. But with each thought, guilt clawed at my insides. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, I felt Ethan's hand brush against mine. I stiffened, my heart racing. "You're so quiet tonight. Is something on your mind?" he asked, glancing at me with concern. I looked into his eyes, those warm, trusting eyes, and I felt the weight of my secret pressing down harder. "No, I'm just tired," I lied, forcing a smile. He sighed, his brow furrowing. "I just want to make sure you're okay. You mean everything to me." The sincerity in his voice made my heart ache. "I'm fine, really," I said, turning my gaze back to the screen, but I could feel his disappointment lingering in the air. That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. The darkness felt heavy, and with each passing moment, I felt more like a ticking time bomb. How long could I keep this secret? How long before it exploded and took everything I loved with it? The days dragged on, and I found myself increasingly distant from Ethan. I would sit across from him at dinner, knowing I was physically present, but emotionally miles away. He would talk about his day, and all I could do was nod, forcing myself to focus on his words, while my mind was consumed with thoughts of Gabriel. Then, one fateful evening, as I sat on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon, I heard a soft voice behind me. "You look lost in thought." It was Ethan. He took a seat beside me, his arm brushing against mine. The warmth of his touch sent a shiver down my spine. "What's going on, really?" he asked, his tone gentle but firm. I felt the walls closing in around me. The truth was so close to spilling out, yet fear held it back. I don't know," I stammered, tears threatening to spill from my eyes. "I feel like I'm losing myself." Ethan looked at me, his expression filled with worry. "You're not losing yourself. I promise we can get through anything if we talk about it." His words hung in the air, a lifeline thrown into my turbulent sea of guilt. But I knew I had to be careful. "I need time, Ethan," I finally said, my voice barely a whisper. He nodded slowly, but the concern in his eyes deepened. "Just remember, I'm here for you. Always." As I watched him walk back inside, I felt the weight of my choices pressing down on my heart. I knew the truth loomed ever closer, and with each passing day, I wondered how long I could keep this secret before it shattered everything I held dear. The day I had been dreading finally arrived. Ethan sat across from me at the kitchen table, his eyes searching mine for answers. The sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the tension that hung in the air. My heart raced as I noticed the change in him. He looked tired, worn down by something he could not quite name. "Something is off, isn't it?" he asked, breaking the silence that felt heavier than ever. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "What do you mean?" I tried to sound casual, but it came out shaky. Ethan leaned forward, his brow furrowed with concern. "You've been distant. You don't laugh like you used to. It's like you're here, but you're not really here." His words struck me, piercing through my carefully constructed facade. I felt exposed, as if he could see right through the walls I had built. "I'm just tired. Work has been stressful," I offered. But even I could hear the weakness in my excuse. He shook his head slowly, his disappointment evident. "It's more than that. I can feel it. Please, just tell me what's going on." I looked down at my hands, twisting my wedding ring. The weight of my guilt pressed down on me like a heavy blanket. How could I open up about the truth when it would tear us apart? "Ethan, just say it," he urged, his voice cracking. "I promise. I can handle it." In that moment, I realized I had to choose between honesty and betrayal, but how could I lay bare the reality of my heart? "I can't," I whispered, tears brimming in my eyes. "Why not?" he pressed, his frustration mingling with fear. "Is it someone else?" His words hit me like a slap. I felt the room spin, the air thick with unspoken truths. How could I admit that yes, there was someone else? "Ethan, please, just tell me the truth." His voice rose, echoing off the walls of our once happy home. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. There's been someone I've talked to, someone who makes me feel things I haven't felt in a long time. The realization of my betrayal hung between us like a thunderstorm ready to break. Ethan's face fell, and I could see the hurt etching deeper into his features. "So, you have feelings for him?" "Yes," I confessed, my voice trembling. "But it's complicated. I never meant for this to happen. I love you, but I am so confused." "Confused?" Ethan's voice was barely above a whisper. "You have feelings for someone else, and you call that confusion? What about us? What about our life together?" "I know, and I'm so sorry," I said, my heart aching for the pain I was causing him. "I never wanted to hurt you. I thought I could handle it, but I can't." He stood up abruptly, pushing his chair back with a loud scrape against the floor. "I thought we were happy. I thought I knew you. How could you do this to me?" His words felt like daggers, each one cutting deeper than the last. "Please, just listen to me," I pleaded. "I am still the same person. I lost my way." "Lost your way?" he echoed, his voice rising in disbelief. "You betrayed my trust. You don't just lose your way when you choose to have feelings for someone else." I felt my chest tighten, the weight of my choices crashing down on me. I know I made a terrible mistake. I wish I could take it back." "But you can't," he shouted, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "You've broken something that might never be fixed." The reality of his words settled like a stone in my stomach. I had never wanted to hurt him, yet here we were, standing on the edge of a chasm created by my choices. "I'm so sorry," I managed to say, my voice breaking. "I didn't want it to come to this." Ethan turned away, his shoulders slumping as he processed the weight of my confession. "What do we do now?" he whispered, his voice heavy with despair. "I don't know," I admitted, feeling lost in the shadow of my own actions. "But I want to try. I want us to try." "Can we?" he asked, turning back to face me, his eyes searching mine for a sign of hope. "I don't know," I repeated, feeling the weight of uncertainty loom over us. "But I promise, I will do everything I can to fix this." As we stood there, the silence stretched between us, filled with pain and the possibility of healing. We had reached a turning point, and I understood that our journey would be long and difficult. But in that moment, I clung to the hope that love, though tested, could still guide us back to each other. The confrontation with Ethan left me in a state of turmoil. I spent the night tossing and turning, haunted by the weight of my choices. As dawn broke, I knew I had to take the first steps toward redemption. The idea of facing my own demons felt daunting, but I could not hide from the truth any longer. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the untouched coffee cup in front of me. Ethan had left early for work, giving me a moment of solitude. The house felt empty, and the silence echoed my guilt. I took a deep breath and picked up my phone. My fingers trembled as I typed a message to Ethan. "I want to talk when you get home. I need to make things right." As soon as I hit send, a wave of anxiety washed over me. What if he didn't want to talk? What if he was done with me? I pushed those thoughts aside and focused on what I could control. I needed to show him that I was committed to making amends. The hours dragged on, each tick of the clock amplifying my nerves. I decided to take a walk to clear my head. The sun was bright, and the air felt fresh against my skin. As I walked through the park, memories of happier times with Ethan flooded my mind. I remembered our laughter, our dreams, and the love we had built together. I felt a pang of regret for taking it all for granted. When I returned home, Ethan was already there, his expression unreadable. "You wanted to talk?" he asked, his voice steady but cold. "Yes," I replied, my heart racing. "I know I hurt you. I can't change what happened, but I want to try to fix this." He crossed his arms, his body tense. "How can I trust you again? You broke my heart." "I know," I said, fighting back tears. "I can't blame you for feeling that way. I need to show you that I am serious about making things right. I want us to be better." Ethan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "What does that even mean? How do I know you won't just hurt me again?" I took a step closer, desperation in my voice. "I am willing to do whatever it takes. I want to be honest with you, even when it's hard. I want to earn your trust back." He looked at me, searching for sincerity in my eyes. "Honesty? You think that will fix everything?" "It's a start," I said softly. "I need to be vulnerable with you. There are things I need to face about myself. I've realized I was running away from my own issues, and I let them lead me to a dark place." Ethan's expression softened slightly, but I could see the hurt still lingered. "I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to lose you, but I need to protect myself too." "I understand," I said, my voice trembling. "I promise to give you space if that's what you need, but please let me show you how much you mean to me. I want to rebuild our life together." He took a deep breath, processing my words. "Okay, let's take it slow. I'm not ready to forgive you yet, but I can try to understand." Relief washed over me. "Thank you. That means more than you know." As we began to navigate our way through the difficult terrain of rebuilding our relationship, I made a promise to myself. I would embrace honesty, even when it was uncomfortable. I would not shy away from vulnerability, knowing that it was the only way to heal the wounds I had caused. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be moments of doubt, anger, and sadness. But I felt a glimmer of hope, a small light breaking through the heaviness of my guilt. With each step we took together, I could feel the bond between us slowly starting to mend. As the days passed, I learned that love is not just about the good times. It is also about facing the challenges, the pain, and the mistakes. I was determined to seek a new beginning, one grounded in honesty and a deeper understanding of myself and my relationship with Ethan. In the end, I realized that the path to redemption was not a straight line. It was filled with twists and turns, but I was ready to embrace it. I was ready to fight for the love we once shared, and perhaps, in time, we could find our way back to each other. Share this story if you believe that love can conquer even the toughest challenges. Leave a comment about a time when vulnerability led to healing in your life, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this one.